discomfort. That is the ravine between these worlds, between want and desire. Want does not want discomfort. Quite the opposite. Want wants comfort. But desire desires things that are only found on the other side of discomfort. Remember, failure was part of the objective of entering the gym this morning. Are there things in your business that are worse off for having you involved in them?
How can I use my business as a way to be there for my family more?
Those outputs can only be reined in and intentionally developed or directed by managing the inputs.
Forced us eventually to take over 2 years of our life to dig out of just to get to zero.
You don't have the things from the places you haven't gone to.
Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. The flies come for the poo, right? There's a push-pull effect with all of your marketing, and it needs to be pushing away the customers that are not a good fit and drawing in the ones that are.
Hey, welcome to all of you, bandits and chilies. This episode is called Wants Do Not Equal Desires. Welcome to Season 2 of the Family-Oriented Business Growers podcast. The main demarcation for this season was that new intro and subsequently the new outro at the end. Hope you like them. My previous ones were just a bit too tethered to referencing in-jokes from a couple of specific early episodes, so I've decided that it's time to switch it up. Now, what we're covering in today's episode is in good company with a couple of Season 1's episodes, specifically the Elephant episode and also last week's New Devil at Every Level episode. So I've linked both of those in the description because this is really an expansion on those themes. As such, this doesn't really touch a lot on how to run your business. It's more about the things that are actually stopping you from getting what you say that you want. What is your why? Why are you in business? What do you want your business to achieve for you? This question is a funny one because even when people think that they have a fairly solid answer to that question, it tends to get lost in the weeds along the way. We get caught up in the day-to-day, and all of a sudden we are making decisions that don't even align with that statement of purpose, that why. We just start reacting to what's in front of us without being clear and intentional about what our end game even is. If you are struggling to get clarity in this area, book a free clarity call with me, link in the description. So, how are wants and desires not the same thing? To illustrate what's going on with wants and desires and how we can distinguish the two, think of the example of your alarm clock going off one cold and frosty morning. Now, who set the alarm for 5 a.m.? That was you. Why? Because you had determined that getting up at 5 a.m. would allow you enough time to get some specific things done, maybe starting your day with a workout, for example. But then, who was it that reaches an arm out from underneath the warmth of those bedsheets and taps around on the cold edges of the bedside table to find the snooze button? Also you. So, what is it that's going on? Well, you have the desire to do these extra things, but in that moment, it is competing with your want to continue doing the comfortable thing. Let's take a quick look at the etymology and psychology of these words. Put your nerd glasses on because this is really interesting. The word want has Norse and Proto-Germanic roots and carries the essence of deficiency, lacking, missing, to be without. The word desire comes from Old French and Latin and carries the essence of longing for, wishing for, in Latin, literally being down from or away from the stars. So want is about the lack of a thing, and desire is about reaching out to something more. It's a very edifying word to be called upwards to something higher. Now, if we take those emotional drives that underpin the experience of those words, we can actually see that they relate to different areas of the brain. To want is to lack, to be missing. This is reflective of a scarcity mindset and the drive to survive, which is related to the amygdala and the striatum. To desire, to long for the stars, that is aspirational. That involves growth and expansion, and that relates to the prefrontal cortex. If we also think about the direction of thinking, want is very inward and backward facing, whereas desire is very outward and forward facing. How so? Well, want is rooted in past patterns of gratification, safety, and identity. It references what has worked before to bring comfort or relief, to maintain the status quo. When you want something impulsively, junk food, Netflix, distraction, you're often trying to recreate a prior emotional state, soothing, numbing, or nostalgia. This can develop into avoidance of what you're currently facing, perhaps because it is uncomfortable and makes you feel unsafe, so your wants are seeking comfort and safety based on what has brought you comfort and safety in the past. It can dress up nostalgia as urgency to seek those feelings immediately, right away, right now. Desire, on the other hand, is forward-facing because it is oriented toward what could be, not what has been. It requires imagination, risk, and the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. Desire is not about recreating a feeling. It's about discovery. It's about growth. It's about becoming someone new and getting, doing, and having things or experiences that you have not had before. It asks aspirationally, who do I want to be? Desire speaks the language of destiny, not dopamine. Want is born from systems that do not care if you thrive, only that you survive. You can see the inherent conflict here, right? You cannot simultaneously optimize for comfort, safety, and the status quo whilst striving, growing, and trying new things. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. And again, this conflict is not just a dispute about words, but the neurological realities that underpin our nature, which we are trying to express with those words. Want is driven by the limbic system, especially the amygdala and the striatum, which are designed for short-term survival and reward. The amygdala specifically optimizes for comfort, safety, and survival, while the striatum optimizes for pleasure. Want can be either of these or both at the same time, but it is specifically a lack term, something that you feel is missing. And all of this is completely now-focused, not next-focused. These internal forces are powerful. This is why we have present focus bias, for example, preferring a lesser good right now compared to a greater good delayed until later. Desire, on the other hand, is next-focused, looking to the future, zooming out to the bigger picture. Desires emanate from the prefrontal cortex, the center of executive function, abstract reasoning, and future planning. This system is proactive, slow, and strategic. It allows us to delay gratification, make sacrifices, and envision future selves. So whilst want pulls from the past and present to preserve safety, desire reaches into the future to create something new. All of those things, all of these different parts inside your head, they are all trying to help and serve you. I mean, you want to be safe and survive, that's great. You want to find pleasure, that's great too. And you want to grow, to become more, and to build a future. Wonderful. But they are in conflict. You cannot simultaneously optimize for all of these things in equal measure at the same time. It's like that Oprah quote, you can have it all, just not all at once. And maybe you've heard this one too, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result. A friend of mine, Dina Moore, she's a life coach and counselor, and she takes this a step further and says that thinking the same things over and over and believing the same things over and over, yet expecting different results, is also insanity. See, want can be a loop. It keeps you orbiting around your current self, circling the same emotional patterns, because fundamentally, it is centered and grounded on the underlying premise that change is bad, change is dangerous. Your default mode network, DMN, often replays the past and resists unfamiliar paths. This reinforces want loops. Desire, however, desire is not a circle. It is a line. It moves you along a trajectory from who and where you are to who you could become and where you could be. Want says, go back to where it was comfortable. Desire says, move, go forward, journey towards something meaningful. Wants are echoes from the past. They whisper familiar comforts that kept you safe, but within that, there is no growth. Desires are signals from the future. They call you to grow, to stretch, to risk, and to step into the life that you haven't yet lived. Desire is a future pull. Want is a present anchor. Desire is the longing for what could be. Desire might be uncomfortable. It's definitionally always bigger than you. So a really important aspect of this is the alignment between who you are right now and respecting that person, that you are valuable, that you are enough, whilst simultaneously striving for more, seeking growth and bigger things. Want is often a lot louder than desire. It is kicking and screaming and making a fuss about what it wants now, 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 now. Desire can often be a suppressed voice, struggling to find a gap in the conversation. Coming back to the example up the top of this episode, the fabled morning alarm. Your desire in that example is to be the kind of man who moves with strength and energy. So you might have this long-term zoomed out vision of health and mobility, looking ripped, feeling strong and energetic, and that is what impels you the night before to set an alarm for 5 a.m. for your future self. So, past self at 9 p.m. the previous night has had some space and clarity of thought to make this plan for future 5 a.m. self. But then, 5 a.m. rolls around, and that past self and future self are gone. All that is present self. And what does present self want? Present self has no grand visions, isn't thinking about future energy and abs. Present self wants comfort, warmth, and sleep. Quite frankly, your present self is an idiot, crippled by present focus bias. But it's hard to listen to the wise philosophies of your past self in the present moment when faced with the present reality of needing to extend yourself into a realm of discomfort. Discomfort. That is the ravine between these worlds, between want and desire. Want does not want discomfort. Quite the opposite. Want wants comfort. But desire desires things that are only found on the other side of discomfort. That ravine of discomfort, of risk and unsafety, the threats that the amygdala is avoiding and protecting you from, they do not need to be life-threatening in order for them to trigger your survival responses, flight or fight. The ravine is unfamiliar. The fear can be social. Maybe you don't want to run that ad campaign or try the new thing because you might fail. You might be embarrassed. You might be seen as weak. You reasonably know that those things will not kill you, but you only reasonably know that with your prefrontal cortex. Your amygdala is much less nuanced, lower resolution than that. It just knows that this thing is new and scary and that we do not like it. No, not one bit. Thank you very much. And there might be a tiger. The good news is that when you push into the ravine, even in small ways, you can acclimate yourself, amygdala and all, to that environment. So getting to your desires is really more about the journey than the destination. You need to become comfortable with repeated exposure to the things that are going to be uncomfortable, scary, risky. When you act from a place of desire, you're training your brain to favor long-term goals over short-term impulses. Every time you say yes to a desire and no to a want, you become more of who you're meant to be. Wants scream louder, but desires speak deeper. Wants are automatic, but desires are chosen. Wants feel urgent, but desires feel important. Wants pull you down, desires pull you forward and lift you up. Desire creates destiny. Wants just protect yesterday. Every day, every choice, every moment, you get to pick which one you listen to. You get to cast a vote in favor of want or desire. One builds you, the other babysits you. Your challenge from today's episode is simply to notice the next time that this conflict occurs. Just notice it. What you do with it, that's not even relevant. But just being aware of this conflict, identifying it, labeling it, that's the challenge. That's it. Have an awesome day. Make someone else's day awesome. I love you just the appropriate amount, like take whatever is weird and then take a healthy step backwards from that line. That's exactly how much. If it's weird, you're the weirdo. Catch ya. Bye. Hey, you're a family-oriented business grower. You should join our free group for family-oriented business growers. It's like the perfect place for someone your size and shape. Join via warplan.au, link in the description, and whilst you're there you can book a free clarity call with me to help identify the next 3 dominoes you need to knock over in your business.